Today, I'm going to be showing you guys how to convert any pixels that you have anywhere on your screen onto a text file. Yes, you heard correct, any pixels into text. Now, I'm not encouraging doing anything illegal, but let's just say this program might be capable of being used to pirate some things. Basically, how the program works is, it asks how many times you want to run it, then it captures the pixels that you have set in the bounds, and then it appends those pixels to a text file. I'm going to be explaining step by step how to build the program and how it works. If you follow along, you'll probably learn a lot about coding. The main purpose is to show you the potential power you can get from being able to make computer programs. So let's get started. To make this first program, you want to make a folder. You can name it whatever you like, but I chose the name PDF to text file convert. Now you're going to want to make some files. The script that we're going to be using is Python. Python is extremely easy and extremely powerful. To make a Python file, all you got to do is right click and make a new text file. Rename the text file and change it from a .txt file to a .py file. This is so your computer recognizes its Python script. The first Python file I made is called writetext.py. The next script I'm making is going to be called automated.py. The first script will be used to write the pixels into a text file, and the next is used to help automate the writing of the pixels in the text file. Something I find extremely nice is to make a .bat file to run the script. This makes so you don't have to open the terminal and type in the script you want to run every time you want to run it. It makes using the script a lot more user-friendly. To make the bat file, first you want to make a text file, and then before you convert it, go into the text file and write @echo off, then Python and the Python file you want to run .py, then pause so that it keeps the terminal open after you run it. Now you can rename it to a .bat file. The .bat file basically just runs whatever you have in it the second you click it, so it's very user friendly. Okay, so let's get started coding. Open the automated.py file and start typing this in. I'd recommend using Visual Studio Code. The first thing we want to do is import some modules that we can use. Type in import OS for the operating system and PyAutoGUI so we can click, and time so we have the script wait for the page to load after we click. The function def run script with the parameters for the amount of times is next. This uses the operating system to run the other .py file that we're going to make after this. The next function calls on PyAutoGUI with the parameters 1806 500. These are the coordinates of the location on the screen where it clicks. The next function calls on the time module to wait 2 seconds. This is so that the page has time to load before it runs the script again. Now we're finally on the main function. When the script is ran, the first thing it does is ask how many times we want the script to run. Then it runs the function runtimes for the amount of times that you enter if it's a valid number. If it's not an integer, it prints, please enter a valid number. Make sure you don't forget to save your files. Okay, so now that we have that, go to the other Python script named writetext.py. It can be whatever, but our first script called for writetext.py, so make sure those are the same. Okay, let's get started. So first import these modules. If you don't have them downloaded, I'll show you how to do that later in the video. Now we want to figure out what region to capture. The coordinates start at 0, 0 at the top left, and my monitor is 1920 by 1080 pixels, so the bottom right is 1920 1080. I'm using the range 1070 for the left border and 185 for the top border, 1860 for the right border, and 1040 for the bottom border. This is basically the coordinates of the book I like to convert into text. Now screen region is the variable for the image grab module. It grabs the image with the coordinates for Pytesseract to use. Extracted text is the variable that will be a string from the Pytesseract function. So extracted text will be the variable for the string that we get for the picture in those coordinates. Now we got to make the script work and put it into a text file. So now it's time to make the main function. Now we open the text file and use A to append. Make sure that you don't use W to write, because writing onto a text file makes so the text file starts with nothing and starts writing the text file from scratch. We make a write to function that uses the string that we got earlier to put that string into a text file. Now I just made a print function that prints that the script worked, and we're done. Now we're all done coding. Go ahead and save the script. I added the text file book.txt so it has a file to append to. Now the first time I ran it, I ran into an error. I had a typo. I didn't make so my functions were labeled the same. Then I didn't have PyAutoGUI module installed, so I installed that. I gotta go through here and fix some of my typos. I'm sorry if you followed along and typed exactly what I did, but with practice you'll learn how to problem solve and figure out these coding errors. This whole coding process actually barely took any time whatsoever. I first made this program on my laptop downstairs with the help of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence can come up with some crazy good ideas. Honestly, the hardest part of making this entire code was just understanding it. Artificial intelligence does all the work. Learning to code with artificial intelligence is a literal game changer. It basically gives infinite intelligence to anyone. I'm sure there's a whole lot of exploits that I'm going to figure out here soon. If you stick around, I'll be sure and share my favorites with you. It's sometimes difficult and frustrating trying to get AI to understand what you want, but if you can put it into words, it does a really good job of any sort of problem solving. Literally, I could have just copied and pasted the script into Copilot, and it would have found all the typos like instantly. Learning to code can be one of the most powerful things you can do. There's so many opportunities and ways to make life so much easier. This is one of the programs I'm planning on using a lot because I love reading, and it's going to be nice that once I've waited for a book on Libby, I can just save it to a text file and read it whenever. It's also so nice because each book is less than a megabyte when it's in a text file. I'm probably going to save every book I ever read into a text file, and even if I find like 1,000 books, it'll literally be less than a gigabyte of storage. Then, as time goes on, I'll be able to easily and quickly transfer those files to whatever device I want. Okay, and boom, like that, the script is done. Now I'm going to show you how to download the modules and make them usable in the terminal. It's pretty basic. Go to Tesseract website and press download. I'm pretty sure Tesseract is safe. It's a super small download. This is the module that we used in the script to turn the pixels into a string. The hard part is getting the system variables to use Tesseract. My laptop was easy because it was put on by default, but it took a little bit of time on my desktop. Once you follow the on-screen prompts, then go to the terminal and install it. Use the command pip install pytesseract to install it. There was some people in my last video who were struggling to get the environmental variables to work with Python and some of the modules. Here's a quick little tutorial on how to make sure the terminal recognizes that you want to use Python and the modules. In the system variables, make sure that the file location of Python and the modules are in there. Also, make sure you have the location of Python enabled in the variables for users. The path to the files should be exactly the same as mine, except after the users it probably will be your name, not Adam's, unless your name is Adam 2 and you have a massive dong. Currently what I'm working on is trying to figure out a good way to host a server so I can easily make multiplayer games. A server is expensive, but there's ways you can make a desktop server. I already know how to host a website from a home server, and I'm probably going to make a video on that soon. If you make your code the exact same as mine and you put the Libby tab on the very right bumper, it should work flawlessly. If you don't have a monitor that's 1920 by 1080, you're going to have to figure out what the pixels are for that monitor. You can mess around with cropping a screenshot of where your text is to easily figure out the designated pixels. And boom, like that, you have a fully functioning PDF to text converter. You're welcome to use it for yourself. I'm not recommend pirating books to sell or anything, but for personal use. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Have a good day, and I'll see you in the next one.